Welcome to another session of Stelmo's Rants and Raves. I'm Stelmo. Let's just jump right in here. I'm reading this headline here. It says Trump issues pardon to former Republican congressman convicted of insider trading. Needless to say, I don't agree with this decision. I definitely don't agree with it. So let me jump here to, let me read this start here to give some background here, information to people. Buyer was sentenced to 22 months in prison in 2023 for trades made while working as a consultant and lobbyist. He was ordered to forfeit more than $350,000, representing the amount of the illegal gains, and pay a $10,000 fine. He was released in 2025. The Supreme Court in May rejected Buyer's appeal without comment or noted dissent. In granting a full, complete, and unconditional pardon, Trump cited Buyer's career as a judge advocate general in the Army and in the House that was distinguished and highly productive. The pardon was dated Thursday and released by the White House late Friday. So you see, here's the problem here. So the guy was doing alleged good things while he's stealing money from the public, because that's what's happening here. But he was a good whatever he was, and so we don't want to go after the political class. And when the political class is gone after, we want to just exonerate them, let them go. And, the interesting question here, now that Mr. Buyer, and it's interesting because that's the problem. He was buying using inside information, so it's a little pun on his name there, but you can't be rewarding office holders, elected officials, because they did a good job so that their crime is somehow absolved. That's the problem we are facing as a nation today. There's been so much crime that we all know about. And yet what is happening in reference to that crime? Well, virtually nothing, or perhaps very little. Yeah, I'm reading where they're going after the little guys, the peons, okay? But notice how the political class has, by and large, for the most part, escaped any sort of penalty for their illegal actions. And, this doesn't bode well for this country, because here's the dilemma that we have. On one hand, we have the Democrats, or I like to call them the American Socialist Party of America, because that's really what it has become. And so that's not a viable option. So, and an independent, because of the way our system was set up, it's not conducive to a multi-party system like you have in Europe. And I think that was a good job by our founding fathers, to prevent the debacles that they have in some of these European countries where they have 40 parties, and it's crazy, bizarre. I don't know what you can say else about the matter, but it is what it is. And but I don't like people getting a reward. And the question is, will Mr. Buyer now, will he be able to go back and claim or get back the $350,000 that he was forced to pay? I mean, he's been pardoned, so he's doesn't sound convicted of a crime. And so if he's not been convicted of a crime, I don't know how you could have a valid sanction by the court enforced. So he'll probably end up getting that money back, and that'll be, probably won't even make the news. And in the meantime, Americans are irate. They were totally livid with Pelosi and all of the millions that she was able to steal from the population. Because that's what happens when they're buying these stocks with insider trading. That Well, the stocks are coming from somewhere and they're being sold by members of the public. And in some cases, institutional institutions. But regardless, either way, it's still that they have this advantage because they have information that no one else has. See, I don't know. The problem here is how many representatives out there are having, let's say, their significant other's brother or sister doing all of the trading for them. You can bet that's all happening. Because what's happened is here in America, there are no longer any morals or any ethics. And it's seemingly all hands on deck to see how much money that they can steal from the public. And our government is just as bad. Don't get me going on our government. Our government is complicit in so much stealing from the middle class. The one issue I like to point out fairly frequently is that of precious metals, mostly gold and silver, and how these markets have been manipulated by the major banks here in this country and around the world. And they're keeping the prices low, and they're stealing money from middle class individuals because these people are making investments. And to make matters worse, these institutions, when they sell gullible Americans gold or silver, they convince them to, hey, let us hold your gold and silver so you don't have to worry about it. And we're only going to charge you a few bucks a month for that. Well, guess what? They don't hold that gold. They sell it. And they know that because they're manipulating the market, they're going to be able to always come out ahead in this game. And every year the government finds them. JP Morgan Chase, I guess it was about a month or two ago when we heard, they paid a really, really substantial fine. I think it was $970 million. Well, when you get fined that kind of money and it doesn't change your behavior, it's because the profits you're making are so much greater than that fine that you continue. And that's why they get fined every year. And the way I look at it, the fine is not punitive enough to stop the problems. And they continue to steal money from the middle class. And at least a portion of that money is getting paid to our government in fines. They become complicit in this. And this is shameful. This is terrible. Because all of these unwitting Americans who just aren't savvy enough to understand the rules. Another thing with these commodities, there's a YouTuber, I'm not going to mention any names because I sort of like the guy, I listen to him pretty often, but, he talks about how, initially he talks about how he didn't do, advertisements within his videos. And I contend that's because there were no advertisers willing to pay him to insert the thing. So suddenly he's got, he builds up his base of viewers, and eventually he gets to the point where people want to pay him to do ads, and he advertises for this one company, and their claim is, yeah, you're going to buy gold, and what we're going to do is you're going to get your interest and dividends paid in gold. So you're really, really going to come out ahead. Well, this is seemingly too good to be true. And I think the same thing's going to happen. They're acquiring and they're holding large amounts of gold from other people. And they're using that gold to make huge amounts of money for themselves and only minimal profits for the holders. And for a lot of these people, they don't understand all of the fine print in the rules. And and to be honest, I don't even know all of the rules with these things and how much you could uh, claim because it's actually yours and they're allegedly holding it. And I don't know how they break down those fractions and stuff because the dividends are going to be a fairly small amount. And I just don't know how that is going to pay out. But, you know, it's just problematic that the government is complicit in this and it continues. And there's so many other ways. The poor middle class, they have nobody really fighting for them anymore. They had Donald Trump. Donald Trump in his first term was good. Donald Trump here in his third term is not quite the Donald Trump we dealt with in his first term. Now, I don't know how his term is going to end up, but there are so many areas that I just don't know how we work our way out of. And, you know, with these finances, you know, you're now seeing in the private credit markets where these various institutions are limiting the amount of money people can withdraw from their accounts in a year. And many of them are capped at 5% a year, which means it would take you 20 years to get all of your money, and that's without any interest being accumulated on it. And I think there's a lot of people waking up and they're shocked. What do you mean I can't have my money? And of course, the fear is out there because, again, there are no morals, there are no ethics. And so in a lot of these private equity companies, you know, they were pledging the same collateral to multiple financial institutions. In some cases, they were allowed to determine what the valuation was of the collateral. And what we're hearing about now is that much of this collateral is not worth what it's printed on. It just, the value's not there. These people have been paying themselves huge salaries and bonuses and everything else. And the way they do that is they keep borrowing from financial institutions until eventually you get a slowdown here. And the scam can no longer be perpetuated, at least not the way it had been. And you're starting to see these companies, they have a lot of problems, and it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better because, again, there are no morals, there are no ethics. These people, all they care about is lining their pocket. If they're, and again, when it comes to this white-collar crime, there's very little pushback. And if you're a politician, such as Mr. Byer here, you get a pardon. Because after all, he did a lot of good. You know, AOC, she did a lot of good. She's a congressman taking care of her people in New York. Gavin Newsom, he's real good. He's taking care of the people out in California. And if you want to buy that nonsense, be my guest. But we all know that's not the case. We all know it. And I'm a little disappointed here because it appears this guy was corrupt. And he got caught. But what we don't know is what did he get away with before getting caught? And then why did they choose to go after him with as many people in Congress and their associates making a huge profits on the stock market? I don't know why anybody else, you know, it's such a rigged game. It's very dangerous, I think, for the little guy. And I know a lot of people who decided they were going to make money in stocks, and yeah, they lost their money. So that's generally what happens. The poor guy loses while the rich get rich. And I fear we're getting to the boiling point in this country. It's not going to be able to continue. Something's going to have to happen. And a lot of these do-nothing politicians, they are going to be terrified and petrified when they see the masses rising up. Because if you look historically, what happens to many of these politicians when the masses rise up, I can say the outcome is not good. Many of these people will be needing mortuary services. That's how the breakdown is. And it's just sad. It's just sad that this country has gotten to where it's gotten. The middle class that built this country is now getting not just a knife stuck in their back, but it's twisted. And we have these federal office holders who promise to do everything for the constituents. And what do? They steal. They steal. They steal. And they want us to believe they knew nothing about it. Well, that's nonsense, too. And we all know what's going on. Anyway, this was frustrating to me when I saw this. And hopefully y'all might feel the same. If not, let me know. Let me read your comments down below. Anyone has a question, feel free to ask away, and I will try to answer each and every question as soon as possible. With that, I thank you all. Y'all have a great day. Stay safe. It's a crazy world out there. Bye-bye.